we want to talk about how to overcome resentment in your relationship. Now, resentment, it's a huge issue, and we all experience it because there's things that happen that we don't like, and we want to blame someone else for them, or we want to make someone else wrong, or project that onto somebody else for making us feel that way.
That's literally what resentment is in your relationship.
Yeah.
Like, resentment is the fact that your partner is not the way you want them to be, or the way you think they should be, or their model of the world does not match your model of the world. They don't think like you think. They're not behaving like you think they should be behaving.
Yeah.
So when we ask couples, like, what is the biggest issue? Initially, the biggest block is resentment. So if you're having problems in your relationship, you don't feel like you're growing, I can almost guarantee that one of you has a massive block of resentment. That was me, by the way, in our relationship.
I had a fair share of it too.
Yeah, at different points, it's been different. But when one of you is resentful, the other person falls into the pattern of being defensive. So that's number one. Identify at the moment in your relationship who is the one that has the block of resentment that they're holding on to.
Yeah.
Which one are you in that? And then notice how defensive your partner is, because resentment literally feeds defensiveness in your relationship. When someone is firing resentment and communicating from resentment, they're loving from resentment, the other person automatically goes into protection mode, defense, to try and escape the threat, because the resentment feels like the threat. So that's the first part. And
when you replay that pattern over and over again, you're both keeping each other stuck.
Yes.
In that place.
So nobody can move forward.
No one can move forward. No one can grow. Your relationship can't move to another level where you experience more love and connection because you're stuck in that belief system.
Yeah.
And that pattern which you keep replaying.
And that resentment is like the third stage before you give up. So if you're feeling resentment, it's not just like a little bit of resentment. It would have started out as like a bit of irritation or frustration. After the honeymoon period, you would have got to that place of, oh, it annoys me how he does that. I used to find it funny. Now it's just really annoying. So you'll have that irritation. That's how your resentment would have started. Then because you didn't communicate it, you didn't bring it to the table, you kept suppressing it and pushing it down and saying, I'm fine, it's fine. And just like killing them with silent treatment. And, you know, all the other things like stonewalling, silent treatment, being cold, edgy, closing. You know, there's so many ways that we punish our partners when we don't want to deal with what's really there. So once you're at the resentment stage, this is the stage where it is make or break. And we have been there so many times. And this is where couples often are when they come and work with us. They're at resentment. So they're heading towards feeling like they need to give up, and the only way that they can move forward is by removing this block of resentment. And the number one thing you need to do to remove that block of resentment is to forgive, because resentment is literally all it is holding on to all the past mistakes, all the past hurt, all of the past problems, and just repeating them over and over and over again in your nervous system, in your mind. It becomes a story, and you then label your partner as that resentment. So, you know, you're not your mistakes. Your partner is not their mistakes. But when you're holding on to resentment, you make them their mistakes. You literally define them by those moments that you're holding the resentment and the bitterness towards them, and they can't become anything else. And we experienced this in our relationship. When I was holding on to the resentment and I was constantly bringing up all of the past, you know, and I'd been hurt. Like, definitely validate that how you feel matters. Like, forgiveness has nothing to do with like condoning the behavior. It's not saying that forgiveness never means it's okay for you to treat me badly. That is not what forgiveness means. Forgiveness means you treated me badly, and I'm going to feel that and acknowledge that, but I'm no longer going to continue to hurt myself and hold myself in a prison of pain by holding on to what you did to me. You have to cut cords and cut off from that pain so that you no longer feel that pain, so that you can actually have peace.
Yeah.
So when I was forgiving Adam, when I had so much resentment, like I could spend a whole YouTube video on everything that I had stacked up over the years and of resentment, and I'd suppressed down, you know, so many things, like when Adam had lied to me, when he'd lost money, when he wasn't reliable, he wasn't there for me with the kids, you know, there was so many times. And I can now say that with like less emotional charge, because I've actually felt the emotions of it. I've validated how I felt it. We've had tough conversations about it, and Adam now knows what I am and am not available for, but I can let it go. I don't have to hold on to it anymore, and I choose not to hold on to it. I choose to forgive because I don't want it to continue to repeat. And I know that if I hold Adam in the past and I hold him captive to all of his mistakes, and I keep pulling him down to the lowest version of himself, then that's all he'll ever be. And then I will resent him for the rest of my life, because he will continue to do those things over and over again. So I actually have the power. You hold the power. If your partner is doing things that upset you, that hurt you, that create the resentment, you hold the power to end the resentment. You have to acknowledge, like I did, that I was choosing to feel resentful. I was choosing to feel stressed. I was choosing to feel frustrated. And I then decided I wanted to cut off from that. And I wanted to feel more pleasure, more fun, more joy. And I wanted to tap into the possibilities of our relationship. And that meant letting go of the past and not living in the past anymore. So that's the first thing you need to do. If you are feeling resentful, you need to acknowledge that you're holding on to the past, that your partner cannot grow, that they cannot be better if you're constantly pulling them down to the lowest version of themselves. And you're not willing to forgive. Forgiveness is the doorway that opens up for more opportunities. And I had to face it. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. I was making mistakes in the relationship as well. Adam had a whole heap of resentment at a different stage that he needed to let go of. And it was the same for you, you know.
Absolutely. And there's two parts to this forgiveness too. There's yourself. You've got to forgive yourself for allowing yourself to feel that way.
Yes.
And for anything that you've played a part in, because obviously the relationship takes two of you. You've played a part in that resentment that's been building up inside yourself. So you've got to forgive yourself, and then you've got to forgive your partner. So it's a two-step process.
And I love how you mention that, because it's so beautiful. Relationships are such a mirror. So every time I was feeling resentment towards Adam, there was a part of that I was resenting myself. Like I resented that I allowed myself to be in that position, or I resented that I didn't stand up for myself, or I didn't speak my truth. And that would be the same for Adam. He resented that he wasn't being the best version of himself, that he wasn't being reliable, that there was some truth in what I was bringing, and he resented that. And so when you turn the mirror back on yourself, you realize, okay, your partner is never your enemy. Your husband, your wife, they're never the enemy. You know, and we look at each other like we are the enemies when we don't have this awareness and we don't have these tools. But you're getting lost on the surface. Your partner is never the enemy. We are our own worst enemies. So when you're looking at your partner and you're like firing the resentment at them and you're blaming them, if you really want to move forward, you really want to grow, the fastest way to do that is to forgive them, to forgive yourself, and turn that back on yourself. Realize that, wow, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm the one in my own way right now. I'm the one keeping myself stuck. Because if the only way you can ever be happy in your relationship or life is because your partner does X, Y, and Z, or that your partner is who you want them to be. And by the way, if you're doing this in your relationship, you'll be doing it everywhere, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you'll be doing it with your kids, with co-workers, with staff, with clients. If you are literally saying that the only way you can be happy and not experience resentment is if every single person in your life behaves how you think they should behave, then you are always going to experience resentment. You are always going to come up against problems, because that's not how life works.
No.
We don't get what we want in life by telling everybody to be what we want. We get it by being that. We get what we want by being what we want, because we get who we are. So,
and also quite often in a relationship, those things that trigger you or bring up that emotion that make you want to resent your partner, Not always, but quite often that's a perfect opportunity to look at yourself use that as a mirror to go, why is that making me feel that way? Because usually that's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. 100%.
There's something in that. There's a lesson that you need to learn to help yourself to move forward to your next step of your own growth.
Because no one can ever make you feel something that you don't already feel in yourself. So when I was resentful towards Adam, I had to face myself and take Adam out of the equation, and I realized I still felt resentful. Even when I took him out of the equation, I was the one that felt resentment inside of me. And I would feel that even when he wasn't there. So I had to realize I was holding on to the past. I was living into the past. I could never change our present or even move to a better future if I continued to live in the past. And that's the same for you as well. You cannot grow if you're not willing to let go of the past. You can't become something else holding on to where you are. You have to make peace with where you are, make peace with who your partner is, forgive, let it go, and then you can move forward. There's so much more that we could share on this, and we are actually doing a live relationship recharge workshop this Saturday where we're diving deeper into resentment. We're going to peel back all the layers because this is huge. Resentment is massive. It's literally the roadblock getting in the way of all the love, the passion, the connection, everything you want in your relationship. So come and join us. All the details are below. Buy a ticket, join us there. And if you can't be live, there'll be a replay, so don't worry.
And if you miss it, we've got a ton of other resources to help you, free stuff and also some paid programs. Come and join us inside one of our programs. All the links for those will be down below as well. And you can find out some more information. And we'll see you in the next video.